Hello and welcome. My name is Lino Tadros from the Training Boss, and I'm going to be spending a series of videos to talk to you about Azure AI Studio and Prompt Flow. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to ai.azure.com. And from that point on, we're going to explain that this is mainly for software developer of applications that would like to use AI. So this is different than the machine learning in Azure, for instance, where data scientists and data engineers will be training, will be doing some fine-tuning, and will be doing a lot of modeling for their data and finding out the best way to actually deploy this. You can do a lot of the things that machine learning Studio does inside of AI Studio, but the main goal behind AI Studio itself is for the software application developers. That's the main idea. All right, so in this first video, just to introduce you to the whole thing, I just logged into ai.azure.com. And you'll notice here I don't have any projects. Creating a brand new project will force you to create a hub, and other resources will be created for you automatically, so you can actually start playing around really with your data, with your own data, for doing generative AI and others. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to click on create a brand new project. I'm going to call it, for instance, Lino. We'll call it standard project. All right, that's good enough for me. And I'm going to actually put it in a hub. A hub, think of it as a place where you can have multiple projects for a team. You can invite multiple members of the team to play with these projects as well. So I'm going to create a hub. My hub itself, we'll call it Lino AI Hub. That's good enough for me. I'm going to use my subscription. You can use whatever subscription you have. In the resource group, it's suggesting a resource group called Lino AI Hub. That's fine with me. I will leave that as well. If you don't like any of these names, you can actually create your own resource group and put it in there. I'm in Orlando, Florida, so East US is good enough for me, but you can definitely use whatever region you'd like. Also, the Connect Azure AI service or Azure Open AI. So you can actually create your own new AI service if you'd like, or use the one that it will be created for you called the AI Lino AI Hub, or whatever you will see there at that time. There is another one, a lot of people will skip it, but if you would like to use embedding and vectorization, you can probably start up a new resource in your resource group in the portal for Azure AI Search, for instance. You can start indexing in there as well. So I'm not going to skip it because we're going to need it in future videos as well. So I'm going to say create a new Azure AI, and here I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it Lino AI Search. I think that's good enough for me. We'll say create. From that point on, it's validating all my sources and all my resources that I'm trying to create, and we'll say next. We'll show you a list of everything that will be created for you, and we'll say create the project. And that will take about maybe a minute and 45 seconds or so to go create all these resources, which you can always go back to your portal.azure.com, and take a look at all of these resources and everything associated with them as well. I'm going to stop the video and come back after this is done. And indeed, it took about a minute and a half, and it completed, and we will see here that we are in the new Lino standard project that I just created. And we will have on the left side in here some model catalog to see all the models that are available for me to work against, model benchmarks to find out what is the different relevancy and similarities and groundedness for these models, for instance, and how they do the benchmark against each other. Let me click on the model catalog for a second, just to show you the myriad of different models that we can get to. And they are not only OpenAI. You can see some GPT 4.0 and 4 and 3.5 and things like that. But if you go down, you can see even small language models like 5.3 from Microsoft, for instance. There are things outside of OpenAI like Llama 2 and Llama 3. There is Mistral in here as well. And there is tons of different things that you can experiment with as well. The model benchmark, I like this very much to give me an idea where we are. So you can see here on the right side the different ones like Azure OpenAI, things coming in from Meta, Mistral, Cohere, Databricks, and so on. And you can see based on each and every single one of them what they excel in scores. And you can go down and see, for instance, for model coherence, for groundedness, how do they actually, all these different models benchmark against each other as well. Fluency, relevancy, similarity, all of these things as well with the comparison here, which would be very good for you to see the different open AIs and other from Mistral and Llama 3 and Llama 2 and others as well. How do they do as far as scoring in the industry? The goal behind these videos, of course, we're going to try to play around with the prompt flow, see how easy that is and how much fun it is to be able to experiment with these things. But there's a prompt catalog that will have tons of different prompt flows already created for you, so you don't spend time actually. You can make maybe small modification. Maybe there is a travel assistant, a real estate assistant, an insurance report assistant. All of these are available for you to start from and then modify however you'd like to them as well. And then there is the project playground. This is where you can just start chatting right away, trying to use assistants, trying to create DALL-E 3 images, for instance, from text. We can do completion as well. The part that we're concentrating on in the series of videos we're going to make is the prompt flow here under tools, which is a lovely tool that you can actually use to create a flow really from your own input, from your own Python code, maybe if you want to, or you want to do it all visual with LLMs and get given outputs, and you can have conditions and do everything in a visual way instead of writing code only for these things. One of the things that we will have to start with at the bottom in here for components is to start having a deployment. So right now, I did create a project, but I don't have any deployments at all. So I'm going to click on deployments. You'll notice this is empty. I'm going to create my first deployment for today. And we have a lot of different models that we can go after, all right, as you can see in here. I'm going to go with GPT-4. Let's start with that. I'm going to say confirm that. And it will ask me a few questions. I'm just going to say, okay, GPT-4, this is the model version that I would like to use of GPT-4. It's the standard deployment, the connected Azure AI resource. That's the one that got created for me in the previous step when I actually created the project itself. And then it's giving me the token per minute rate limit is 10,000, which would be okay for our first video, but I know that we will need more because we're going to have multiple prompts and multiple variants to see how to evaluate the entire flow later on. So I'm going to move this a little bit to maybe 40. How about that? We'll go all the way to 40 on that and we'll give it a shot. And also the content filter, and then we'll explain that as well when we start talking about content safety. This is regarding speech that contains hate speech, violence, sexuality, and self-harm. We're using the default. That means if you use GPT-4, it's already have it built in into the Azure OpenAI, a medium level of all the content safety on all of these things. So we'll go ahead and deploy this. And this might actually take just a few seconds and it will be able to tell you that GPT-4 has been deployed. That will be your endpoint right there, as you can see at the top. So I can actually copy that and maybe go against it from like Postman or curl or any product that will allow you to create a post API, for instance. And this would be our key that you will need to pass as the API key for calling into there. Sounds good so far? And before I even create any flows or anything like that, if I would like to play around with this specific deployment, I can say open in playground, for instance, in here, and that will open something that looks like a chat user interface. It says the deployment is GPT-4. That's the one I just created. I can actually set up the system message. I can say you are an AI assistant that helps people find information. I can delete this and I can write, you are a very funny and sarcastic AI bot. Make sure you respond in such a way. I can say you're a pirate, so make sure all your answers will be in a pirate slang, for instance, or something like that. And this will be the system message that the system will use to take the persona to be able to do that. Of course, if I can go in here and say, what is the meaning of life? Okay, I'm going deep now. All right, all right, sounds good. Let's go ahead and see what that is. That's going to make the call. Again, remember the API key and everything else is available. And notice it's going to actually start streaming in the answers from the OpenAI for GPT-4, and it will give you the best thing it could find regarding what the meaning of life religiously, philosophically, and scientifically, and all of that great stuff. That's all I wanted to show you really in the first video. Just an introduction, really simple for AI Studio, show you how the whole thing works. And then from starting the next video, we're going to start creating our first prompt flow and see how we can create a standard one for completion, or we can make a chat one, and also we'll see the evaluation, the deployment, the monitoring, the CI/CD concept of the whole thing. So we'll take it one at a time. But for right now, hopefully you enjoyed the first video. Please like and subscribe, and there will be a lot more videos coming your way for Azure AI Studio and Prompt Flow. Thank you.